Take a stand, take a stand. Everybody, everybody, come take my hand, come take my hand. We'll walk this road together through the storm, whatever weather, cold or warm. Just letting you know that you're not alone.
You're listening to America Off the Rails with Double R, right here on the Common Ground Media Network.
Alright folks, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you might be. I am Double R, and this is America Off the Rails, and you are listening to the all-new K98Talk.com, featuring some of the shows put together by my company, Common Ground Media Group, and others coming soon. I have a lot going on today. There's been a lot going on in the news. I am rather disappointed in this country right now. I really am. I've never in my life found myself in a time where someone basically gets suspended from a television show, much less a reality TV show, based on the family for quoting the Bible. Yeah, sorry folks, we're not wasting any time getting into this one today because I am angry. I don't know about the rest of you, but this is crap. This man, Phil Robertson, has spent the last few years coming into our homes every day. The show typically ends with them eating together as a family, praying and saying grace. And just before anybody starts trying to take my head off or anything else, I have friends who are homosexual. And I understand that they are cranky about what this man said. But it's not like he was going out just basically telling everybody exactly what he thought with nobody asking him first. This was an interview. It was an interview. They asked him the question. What was he supposed to do? Lie? And say, ooh, no, it's fine, never mind the fact that I pray to Jesus every night on my show that you guys watch me, probably do at the times that you're not watching me. But yeah, you know what, yeah, that's fine. Because you know what, I'm going to say the same thing I have always said. And this is the thing that really ticks me off. For all my homosexual friends out there, and you know who you are, this is what ticks me off. You keep looking at everyone else saying, don't judge me. Yet the first thing you do anytime anybody opens their mouth is you sit in judgment. You want to talk about hypocritical, that's it. You're telling the rest of the world don't judge me because you don't understand me, you don't know who I am, you don't know how I live, and this is not a choice. Okay, so that's fine. If we take you at face value, then when someone disagrees with you, don't sit in judgment. It's not that hard. It's not like he's pulling a Westboro and picketing funerals and saying all this other crap, because that's something else that I heard today, was how what he's doing is comparable to the Westboro Baptist Church. And I'm sorry, no, it's not. This man was asked his opinion. That's all it was. He was asked his opinion. And he's being crucified for giving his opinion. And yeah, I chose that word on purpose because that's exactly what this reminds me of. This reminds me of someone who's basically standing up for their faith and saying, this is what I think because you asked me, and the whole world basically just looks at him and standing there in scorn and judgment. So again, for all you folks who keep saying every day, well, don't judge me because you haven't walked a mile in my shoes, you don't know who I am, you don't know what I've been through, and it's not my fault that I have feelings for someone of the same sex. Okay, so taking you at face value, then quit judging everyone else who doesn't agree with you. It's called an opinion for a reason. Last I checked, we're supposed to have a First Amendment. It's not supposed to only be extended to those who agree with you. That's the whole point of the First Amendment. People have the right to say whatever they want to say. It doesn't mean you have to listen. If you don't like what this man says and what this man stands for, then it's very simple. You turn away from the television show. And you don't buy any of their merchandise. It's not that hard. But for all you spineless jellyfish, especially you A&E folks, I got to tell you folks, I'm pretty sure you just shot yourself in the foot. Because with as close-knit as this family is, I cannot possibly imagine them trying to do this show without that man. I will be really surprised if they do, because they don't need your money. They were already rich when you found them. You need them much more than they need you. And the fact that someone can basically be raked over the coals for honestly answering an interview question tells me that free speech is dead and this country is not long for this planet. And it really is that simple. And this is not the first thing that set me off. I woke up this morning because, as I've told you guys before, normally as I start winding down for the night, I'll turn on either CNN or Fox News, and I usually sometimes alternate between the two. Last night was Fox's turn. I woke up this morning to clips being played from other news channels where they were basically, it was Barbara Wawa, Miss Barbara Walters, who basically was interviewing with someone else and was talking about how disappointed she was that Obama didn't turn out to be the Messiah that they thought he was going to be. And yes, they used the word Messiah. Where is anybody freaking out over that? Because I got to tell you, there's only one. I don't care if you agree with me or not. That is the truth according to the gospel. There is one. You don't like what I'm telling you? Turn it off. I really don't care. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying. But it's my right to tell you exactly how I feel. And again, for all you folks sitting in judgment of Mr. Robertson, remember, he was asked the question. He was asked that question. What was he supposed to do? I declined to answer because I'm afraid it's going to affect my ratings, or I declined to answer because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Yeah, we're going to get to something else in a minute that I found that also really pisses me off, because you can start comparing a few things side by side and you're just, if you're anything like me, you're floored. Let me actually start pulling a few things up here. One moment, please. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the right page here. Bear with me for just a moment. Joys of Live Radio, folks. Sometimes your internet connection just doesn't want to do what you're trying to tell it to do. Okay, so I'm going to read you a couple of different things here, and I want you to tell me which one you think is hate speech. Now, I'm only reading you how this was written, so anybody who wants to yell at me about the language, you might want to turn it down now. I wish the Republicans were all fucking dead. GPC Carl Romanelli should be dragged behind a pickup truck until there's nothing left but the rope. I go around the room licking doorknobs. They're filthy, no doubt, but there isn't time to find a rag to spit on. If, for some reason, I don't manage to get a pen from my mouth to Gary Bauer's hands at the conference, I want to seed his office with germs, get as many of his people sick as I can, and hopefully one of them will infect the candidate. I lick office doorknobs, bathroom doorknobs. When that's done, I start on the staplers, phones, and computer keyboards. Then I stand in the kitchen and lick the rims of all the clean coffee cups drying in the rack. Now, that's from Mr. Dan Savage. Now, I want to read to you exactly what Mr. Robertson said today, and you can tell me which one of these sounds more like hate speech. Start with homosexual behavior and just move out from there. Bestiality, sleeping around with this woman and that woman and those men. Don't be deceived. Neither the adulterers, the idolaters, the male prostitutes, the homosexual offenders, the greedy, the drunkards, the slanderers, the swindlers, they won't inherit the kingdom of God. Don't deceive yourselves. It's not right. We never ever judge someone on who's going to heaven or hell. That's the Almighty's job. We just love them, give them the good news about Jesus, whether they're homosexuals, drunks, terrorists. We let God sort them out later. You see what I'm saying? Which one of those sounds like a hateful man? Just saying. Why was nobody up in arms about this comment from Mr. Dan Savage? I gotta tell you, folks, I didn't even know who he was until I found this. I still don't know who he is. Just saying. None of this makes any sense to me. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, the next thing I found, which I thought was kind of interesting, was a side by side of two other people, and I'll let you know who they are after I finish reading them. Lies to the American people about healthcare. Benghazi, the IRS, the NSA, and Fast and Furious gave a personal opinion about a personal belief that affects no one. It's safe to say the wrong person has been fired. The one from the first clip, our current president, Barack Hussein Obama. The second clip, Mr. Phil Robertson. So again, folks, I ask you, what is the state of free speech in this country? I mean, and while everybody is criticizing Phil and screaming about what a homophobia is and what a bigot he is and everything else, this is what he was doing today. And this is from the Blaze. The unsurprising thing Phil Robertson did after getting suspended from Duck Dynasty. Phil Robertson of Duck Dynasty was at church with a group praying for a woman who had been diagnosed with cancer following his suspension from the hit TV show. The pastor at White's Ferry Road Church told TMZ. However, he wasn't praying for himself or his family's TV show. In fact, he didn't even mention the hiatus because it was all about the woman with cancer. Pastor Mike Kedglet told the website. Phil is doing his best to follow God's word. He always treats people with love and respect. The pastor reportedly responded when asked by TMZ if Robertson is a homophobe. Kedglet also made it clear that he stands behind the Duck Dynasty star and his faith. Television shows come and go. His faith is forever, the pastor added. So this hateful, terrible man who was asked a question and gave his honest answer, what was he doing? Was he out slamming people? Was he knocking over cars? Was he punching people in the face? I mean, did he start the Duck Dynasty version of the knockout game? I mean, what did he do? He went and prayed. Not about himself, not about his family, not about the future of the show, but he prayed over a woman who was diagnosed with cancer. So I ask you again, does this sound like the actions of a hateful man? Did the words that he actually said sound like the words of a hateful man? He quoted a Bible verse and gave his opinion because he was asked. I gotta tell you, folks, I'm not even gonna tell my wife what to do because she's the one that spends most of the time on A&E because I really don't watch much reality TV. I have to admit I have gotten into Duck Dynasty. It's one of the few that I will watch because I find it entertaining, and Uncle Si reminds me a lot of one of my grandfathers, so I find it really entertaining, and I've kind of gotten into it. But I gotta tell you, I'm done. I'm sorry. Unless they bring Phil back and they issue a full apology for putting him through all of this, I will never watch that show again. It's not against anyone else on the show, but like I said, I will be completely and totally surprised if the show continues without him, because they are such a close-knit family. And what are they going to do? Kick him out of the house during taping? I mean, not that he couldn't afford to go elsewhere, but I mean, come on. It's not like they need the money. This was never done because of the money. They didn't need the money to begin with. I don't normally disagree with Matt Drudge, but I'm kind of stricken by the headline here, so we're going to do a little bit of delving into this. Matt Drudge calls Duck Dynasty star ticking time bomb. The Drudge reports Matt Drudge weighing in on the controversy over Duck Dynasty star Phil Robertson's recent comments about gays. Dead duck. Will Walmart pull all the merchandise? Will Amazon halt the sales on CD? Robertson was a ticking time bomb, giving too many interviews. I guess that was just his little snippet from Twitter, because it was at Drudge. Now, this is an interesting thing, because I'd planned on talking about this guy in a little bit anyway. Have you guys seen the whole new healthcare commercial with the guy in pajamas? Oh, never mind. I guess it's just a meme somebody put up. It looked like an article, but anyway. Let me see if I can find some stuff on Pajama Boy, because apparently even MSNBC was having a bit of a meltdown about that one today. Oh, actually, hang on. I did find something else while that's loading. I didn't see this till a second ago. One moment, please. Ah, I see. Mr. Beck has made them an offer. Glenn Beck makes a very exciting offer to the cast of Duck Dynasty. Duck Dynasty on the Blaze has a nice ring to it, according to Glenn Beck. One day after Phil Robertson's comments about homosexuality earned him an indefinite suspension from the hit series Duck Dynasty on A&E, Beck offered the entire Robertson family a place on his own network. All the other networks will fold the pressure, he said. They will all fold the sponsors. They will all fold the money because they are all in over their eyeball. They are in over their eyeballs, all in debt. The only reason why Phil was put on hiatus and not the rest is because it's a money printing machine. Beck said, as he sees it, the Robertson family has a choice to make. If I'm the Robertson family, I sit down with my family and say, is this the way we're going to let him be treated? Is this who we are? Or are we going to be quiet just because he has an opinion about the scriptures? Alright, folks, well, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a sponsor break here, and we will be right back with some more on Phil Robertson, Duck Dynasty, and the death of free speech.
We were made to be courageous. We were made to lead the way. We could be the generation that finally breaks the chains. We were
Giving the Obama administration the big ones up, right from the middle finger. Common Ground Radio with Double R.
Hey, folks. I don't know about you, but I always feel like there just isn't enough time in the day. You know, one of those not enough hours in the day kind of things. But, working full time, raising a family, trying to start a company, I'm sure some of you can relate. So, what can we do about it, I guess is my question. Short of hijacking Doc Brown and having him show you the secrets to the DeLorean, What if I told you there was a way where we could get you more energy for the hours that you had in your day instead of worrying about finding more time in your day? Anyway, I found the information through my independent Beachbody life coach, Miss Sherry Britt. You can find her information online at www.beachbody.com/SherryBritt1. Basically, I have to tell you, folks, I haven't been doing it for very long, but it's working. It's one of those total commitment kind of things. I'm using a program called Shakeology. Basically, it's a meal replacement. Think Slim Fast, but better. And also, I have one of Sean T's workout videos. We're doing T25 right now. Started that a couple of days ago. Have to admit, I'm old, I'm fat, and it's painful, but I feel better. And it's one of those things where I'm doing it at my own pace. There's also nutrition plans involved in a lot of these packages if you go for the whole thing. So it's what they like to call a challenge pack. I call it a bundle offer. Basically, it gets you the Shakeology video of your choice and a diet and exercise plan all rolled into one. Basically, it's just one of those things where what have you got to lose? You might as well try it. We all complain that there's not enough time in the day. What if there just isn't enough energy for us in the day anymore? You remember when we were kids? A day felt like a week because we were always doing something. Just my thoughts on it, folks. Give it a shot. Like I said, you can find the information at the link I just gave you a minute ago. What have you got to lose?
If you don't believe in God we trust, then strap your bomb to yourself and ride your camel out of here. You're listening to America Off the Rails with Double R, right here on Common Ground Radio.
But tell them if I don't survive, I was born free. I was born free. I was born.
You are now tuned into the Bush Leagues of Talk Radio, right here on the all-new K98 Talk.
Sorry, wrong button. Alright, folks, we are back, and we are live, and this is America Off the Rails, and I am Double R, and we are talking about the death of free speech in the United States of America. Unless, of course, you're a liberal, and you're talking about going around and making people sick by licking doorknobs and licking coffee cups and, trying to get a germ-infested pen into someone's hand who happens to be a Republican. Yeah, all that's fine. But, quote a Bible verse and tell people how homosexuality is wrong in your opinion after being asked a question, and everybody comes unglued. This is how topsy-turvy everything is right now. I saw something else that I thought was funny at first, but it's an honest question. And yeah, it was a meme put together by somebody, so I'm not sure if he ever actually said it. But it had the picture of Mr. Phil Robertson, and it basically said on it, I wonder if I had quoted the Quran, how upset A&E would be. Because, here's the thing, folks. And I'm tired of telling people about this because it's like nobody seems to care, and even the people that I know that are homosexual want to argue with me about it every single time. Someone who's a Christian gives you their opinion and says, hey, we're still going to pray about you, and we're still going to let you know about Jesus, and what happens next is up to you. Not so much with the Quran. Most of the slavery that I know of still takes place in Islamic countries, unless it's like human trafficking crap, and of course that's kind of spread out all over. But the actual full-fledged slavery, yeah, that's pretty much in Islamic countries. Not to mention the fact that in most of the Sharia Islamic countries, the ones where basically it's not only just their religion, it's also their code of laws and everything else. Yeah, you're not homosexual there. Or if you are, nobody knows. Because if they find out, typically you don't live very long. But yeah, God forbid someone who's asked a question gives an opinion. Just saying. Opinions are bad. We shouldn't be able to give those anymore. We should only be able to tell people what they want to hear. We should be so worried about whether or not we're going to be successful that we only make sure that we get along with people and that we lie to their faces so they never know, because then it's good, because we're not hurting anybody's feelings anymore. When did this country turn into a bunch of pussies? Sorry, I bit my tongue for a second there because a not so nice word was about to come out in front of that one, and that one wasn't very nice either. But what happened? It was funny because the other morning I was getting ready for the day job, and I heard a quote from Ronald Reagan during one of his first interviews when he was running for president the first time, and he didn't succeed. And he was quoted as, or actually from the clip, he said that, "I firmly believe that there is still a spirit of pioneerism in the country of America." I gotta tell you, folks, for the majority of Americans, that spirit is dead and gone. Nobody wants to be self-reliant anymore. Nobody wants to make their own way. Everything's too hard. Life isn't fair. I'm born different than you, so you should have to take care of me. You shouldn't have a harsh opinion of me. It's all crap. You want my opinion? That's it. All of this PC, give everybody a trophy for participating crap, yeah, it's crap. It's not a wonder we have a whole society right now who thinks they deserve $15 an hour for pushing buttons. Here's the funny thing, guys. You're about to make your jobs extinct. Technology is good enough now that it can keep up with you. They're putting automated kiosk machines in fast food restaurants. All you folks that are talking about wanting $15 an hour to run a cash register, yeah, you're about to be replaced, whether you like it or not. All you folks in Walmart, well, I should be making $15 an hour to push these buttons on this cash register. Yeah, your job's about to be gone too. Just about along the lines of the way free speech is gone in this country anymore. Because unless you agree with what somebody's saying, they're not entitled to say it anymore. Before anybody says it, I'm almost as bad as anybody else. On one of the original Facebook pages that I started with Dave back when we were first building Common Ground, which became Finding Common Ground, at some point we decided that there weren't quite enough liberal admins on that page because it's one of the only mixed platform pages that's ever been created, which I gotta say is a bigger headache than even I ever thought possible. But the problem that I found, and one of my biggest issues, is we did open an invitation for someone who was more liberal than even Dave, because he's more kind of JFK liberal, to take on an admin role. Well, the problem is I had a misconception, because I honestly thought when I started that page, if we could set aside those 7 or 8 issues that everybody always wants to fight over, that we could find things that we could agree on. The problem is, most of the folks that are really, really, really liberal don't like this country anymore. They don't like this country because they've bought into the lies about it being a bunch of hateful white men who wanted to get away from everything, start a big boys club of their own, and tell the rest of the country, the rest of the world to F off. They don't like this country because, as far as they're concerned, we're one of the only countries in the world who doesn't have health care for its general citizenry. Never mind the fact that most of the folks that have that kind of health care, if something really bad happens, they used to come here. They're not going to be for much longer, but they used to come here. And it all goes back to that quote that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago from one Ronald Reagan, who happens to be one of my personal heroes, by the way, in case anybody was wondering. I've gone into this before, but I know we've been picking up more new listeners. So I gotta tell you, my life growing up as a kid was kind of interesting. Anybody ever watch the old show Family Ties? Sans vest and tie, I was basically Alex P. Keaton. I was a conservative in a very liberal family, and a very democratic family. As a matter of fact, when I turned 18, I was at my dad's house shortly after I voted for the first time, and he asked me how I registered. I told him I registered Republican. I came out to find a bumper sticker on the back of my car that said, "I'm a Democrat, I read my Bible, and I carry a gun." It was on my dad's truck until he found out I registered to be Republican. But I mean, my state's a little different. In most other states, the Democrats here would be considered Republicans. So, and as time has gone on, I find myself espousing less and less with the Republicans and the Democrats. Mainly because of issues that I've talked about before, and the fact that each one seems to be hell-bent on getting us to the same place. One just wants to do it in a Japanese bullet train, the other wants to do it in a little push handcar, hoping you won't notice that they're actually trying to get you to the same place the other ones are. But all of this honestly really does tie together, because this is why we're in the kind of trouble that we're in. We have built a society around bread and circuses. Everything's all about entertainment. There's no substance here anymore. It's all about what the next big thing is on TV or on the radio, or the next big reality show, or what show are we going to watch tonight, or what's in the movie theaters, or what's the new big thing at Walmart that we can go buy. I honestly think this is why Duck Dynasty caught on as well as it did. And I have to agree with something that Glenn Beck said the other day. I'm pretty sure that most of the people in New York City look at 5 minutes of that show and they're like, what the hell is this? And I gotta tell you, I'm fine with that. As far as I'm concerned, New York and California should be separate countries. But that won't ever happen either. But it all goes back to the same thing, folks. The same thing that I've said for quite some time. The First Amendment is gone. The First Amendment was not supposed to be freedom from religion, it was supposed to be freedom of religion. The First Amendment was supposed to guarantee that you had free speech. We don't have free speech anymore. We have employers who watch Facebook pages, and as soon as you say something out of touch with whatever their policy is, you typically are terminated. We have employers who are watching your Instagram feeds and your Twitter feeds, or maybe you're friends with somebody that you work with who sees that you say something against the company or against one of its customers or whatever else, and suddenly next thing you know, you are you would be in the unemployment line, except for the fact that you were terminated for something that was built into one of the pieces of paper that you signed, so probably no unemployment for you either. Or you find yourself in a situation like this, where the man was giving an interview, was asked a question, and because he answered honestly, he was suspended indefinitely. They're trying to get you to shut up. And for all of you that are cheering right now because Mr. Robertson was suspended, just wait. At some point, this spotlight is going to turn on you. And when it does, you're going to be the one screaming, "Oh, this isn't fair. I have free speech. It's in the Constitution." Ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution has been a birdcage liner in the Oval Office for about 12 years now, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. And it started with with the Patriot Act. During the signing of the Patriot Act, I was still going to work every day, running my company, listening to folks like Glenn Beck, who had just started coming onto the scene, and I was screaming from my little rooftops that nobody listened to about the evils of the Patriot Act, and how, again, nobody's using the litmus test that I've always kept in place for myself. Anytime I ever tried to do anything, if it's going to be something that may eventually be used by someone else, am I going to be okay with it when it's their turn? If the answer is no, then I try to fight it tooth and nail, which is exactly what my little butt tried to do with the Patriot Act. I was even less known then than I am now, so I didn't have much of a chance. But that is what got all of this started in the back of my mind, even back when I was running my security agency, was somebody's got to do something. So this is what I'm telling you folks tonight. There is going to come a time soon when all of us are going to be told to sit down and shut up. And again, all of you folks right now that are all, ooh, this is great, that bigot got put in his place and he got suspended and blah blah blah, yada yada yada. Just remember, your time is coming soon. And when it does, there are going to be just as many people cheering that you got shut up that are cheering now that he got shut up. The question is, will there be just as many coming to your defense as this man has right now? There's a favorite saying of mine. Evil wins when good men choose to do nothing. Phil Robertson took a stand. He could have played it safe. He could have said, we have lots of fans, and I don't want to make anybody upset, so I really don't feel comfortable answering that question. That's not what he did, because that's not who Phil is. Phil's never hidden who he is. Phil's never changed who he is. He's never sugarcoated who he is. He's never looked at somebody and said, I'm just not going to answer that question because we have lots of fans and I'm afraid I'm going to offend someone. That's what a lot of people today would have done. That's probably what I would say that's probably what they expected him to do. But I guarantee you, whoever did this interview, as soon as his mouth had stopped moving, there was probably drool running down the corner of their mouths. And I bet they couldn't hide it very much. Because their ratings just went through the roof. Now, I've seen other things going on about this today. I've seen articles stating that people are pretty sure that this is some sort of a publicity stunt because Duck Dynasty's supposed to be doing some sort of a marathon this weekend or whatever, and all these people that are up in arms will probably be watching it because Phil's still on it. I gotta tell you, if that was what A&E was trying to do, I'm pretty sure it just blew up in their face. Because, again, I won't tell my wife that she can't turn it on, but if I'm in the room and I'm the only one in there, it definitely won't be on my TV, no matter how much I like watching those guys. I will not watch another show on A&E until such time as Phil Robertson has issued a full, formal, written apology. Because he was asked a question in an interview, and he gave an honest answer. That's all he did. He was asked a question. He answered the question. So again, I ask you, what was he supposed to do? Was he just supposed to say, I'm just not answering that question? Anybody who's seen the show for more than 5 minutes should have known that wasn't going to happen. And it's not like he said, I think all homosexuals are going to burn in hell, or I hope they all burn in hell. That's not what he said. He equated it to other things that are considered sinful in the scripture that he quoted. And I'm sorry, but it does specifically say, man shall not lay with another man. Now, I've seen some funny postings about that pop up, because the actual full quote was, man shall not lay with another man lest he be stoned. And of course, with the new vernacular, some people have wondered if maybe it was taken out of context and that you were supposed to be high before you did it, but I really don't think that's what they were going for. So I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm sorry if you disagree with it. I'm not judging you. I won't judge you. Just like I won't judge Phil. Because again, this is the thing that pisses me off. about all of you people that are sitting out there saying, you don't know me, you've not lived in my shoes, don't judge me. That's fine. Why can you not extend the same courtesy to someone else who only gave an opinion? An opinion. It's not like he got some big million-man march put together or went around and started playing the knockout game on all the homosexuals that he could see. It's not what he did. It's not what he does. Not who he is. He told you what he thought. Now you're all pissed off. So I got a suggestion. Why don't you get over it? You don't like what he said? Don't watch the damn show. And again, in case anyone from A&E actually at some point manages to hear this, we do have quite a few listeners. So I really am hoping that each and every one of you who do listen to these shows on a regular basis will tell your friends that you're not watching A&E anymore until he gets an apology. Because I know there's lots of folks on the Blaze that are already doing that. So Glenn Beck's network may be a lot bigger than mine and a lot fancier than mine, but he did put out a call a long time ago for anybody of any network size who had anything that they wanted to report or contribute to let him know. Tried reaching out to him several times, but just so anyone knows, I completely support Glenn Beck and everything that he's trying to do, because it's some of the same things that we're trying to do here. We're trying to be a beacon for folks that are tired of only hearing one side of the story. Which is why even my buddy Dave, who is a lot more liberal than I am, not only has a morning show here, but we still plan on doing Finding Common Ground on Saturday mornings. Actually kind of looking forward to that. I haven't really talked to Dave in a couple of days. He's a friend of mine, and I'm sure if he hears this, he's going to be rolling his eyes over most of what I've said during this show. But you know what? That's fine. We don't have to agree to get along. He's my friend. I respect him. I support him, even if I don't always agree with him. The same can be said for my friends who are homosexual. I care about you. You are my friend. You always will be. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with you. But I also will not sit in judgment of you. Neither did Phil. He quoted a Bible verse and gave his opinion. Sorry, folks. Can you tell I've been angry about this most of the day? Lucky for you guys, there are like people in the next room. Because my studio's not soundproof yet. Otherwise, this probably would have been a lot louder of a segment. Okay, so before we went to break, and then I went back to Phil because I'm still angry and seething and want to punch somebody in the face. We were going to start talking about the Pajama Boy commercial. MSNBC panel breaks down in hysterics while discussing insufferable man-child in Obamacare ad. And this, of course, is dated today at 3:20 p.m. This is, of course, from The Blaze, written by Beckett Adams. Members of an MSNBC panel broke down in hysterics Thursday morning as the host and guests of Morning Joe tried to discuss the much-ridiculed Pajama Boy Obamacare ad. Though puzzled at first, the NBC panel eventually agreed that as an attempt by supporters of the Affordable Care Act to market to younger consumers, Pajama Boy, which National Review's Rich Lowry described as an insufferable man-child, is just plain silly. Wait a minute, they're trying to get the young people who are 25 years old? Co-host Mika Brzezinski asked. That ain't how you do it, Scarborough guffawed. If this is the strategy, the kind of strategy behind promoting and marketing this law, this is not a good time for Democrats. Not a good time for Democrats indeed. Not that it's going to matter. I mean, let's just be honest at this point. This thing's been a train wreck since day one. Now that Obama can't be elected anymore, all of the Democratic mouthpieces are all coming out and doing their best to sound like they give a crap and to sound like they're not biased when we all know the truth. Especially you, Mr. Scarborough. For somebody who's supposed to be a conservative, you, sir, are one of the biggest mouthpieces for this administration that I've ever seen. The only person who I can honestly say is a bigger mouthpiece for this administration than you ever were was Mr. Chris, I have a tingle down my leg, Matthews. You guys are insane. You've been singing this man's praises for years. While anyone who tried to tell you, hey, you know, this thing's going to be a mess. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Obama's great. He's the Messiah. He's going to save us all. So, you know, and again, it's kind of going back to the whole thing that I talked about with Miss Barbara Wawa earlier. What exactly was Obama supposed to be saving us from? If he was the Messiah, which last I checked was another word for savior, what exactly is he supposed to be saving us from? Was he supposed to be saving you from the big bad Republicans? Because, you know, that's all I've heard for the last several months is, oh, the only reason Obamacare is not working is because of the nasty Republicans. Well, I got news for you, folks, and I read them yesterday. You can go back and listen to yesterday's show. There were, or I guess it was the day before yesterday. Sorry, I didn't actually do a show yesterday because this whole working nonstop thing. Yeah, occasionally got to take a minute to breathe. But yeah, anyway. I read all kinds of statistics on Tuesday's show. You know, of a lot of Democratic states where there is no real opposition to Obamacare and it's still not working. And then there's all these nice stories about these supposed certified navigators who are basically telling you how to input the information and they're telling you to do it wrong. They're not telling you to do it wrong so that, or because they don't know any better. They're not telling you to do it wrong because they're idiots. They're telling you to do it wrong because as long as you're putting in the wrong information, hey, you're going to get more subsidies than you were originally supposed to get. This is the mess we find ourselves in. I've been telling everyone who would listen since this crap passed. This system was not designed to work. This system was designed to cannibalize the insurance industry and crush the middle class. Does anyone not remember all the things Obama said about how the world needs to be on a more even playing field with the U.S.? Did anybody honestly think that he meant that was because he was going to try to build up the rest of the world? Really? I mean, because if you are, you know, hey, I got this nice little bridge I can sell you in Brooklyn. Let me give you the link to my GoFundMe account. Throw me about $1.5 million in there and I'll send you the deed to the bridge. Just saying. This stuff was not designed to help anyone. If it was, it would be. It's not that hard. You want to know how they could have helped people? Again, leave in the your children can be on your insurance till they're 25 thing or 26 or whatever it is. Remove pre-existing conditions. Those are the two best things that are in that. The rest of this could have been accomplished several different ways, all working in tandem and all allowing the market to do its own thing. Open up interstate competition between medical insurance companies. This promotes rivalries and will cause costs to go down. Quit hiding the cost of procedures from the consumers. Let them see Hospital A is charging $60,000 if I have a hangnail. Hospital B is charging $40,000 if I go in for a hangnail, and Hospital C is charging $5,000 if I go in for a hangnail. Why all the secrecy? Does anybody remember the 70s? Yeah, because that was right about the time that the insurance industry really started taking off. I remember reading something not too long ago about a man who fell and broke his arm sometime, I think it was either early 70s or mid 70s. Went to the hospital, got everything x-rayed, got his arm put in a cast, had the whole procedure done, and it was roughly $75 for the doctor visit, for the x-rays, for the casting. That was it. Paid $75 and he was done. A few years later, his son broke his arm. Basic same exact situation. Went to the hospital, insurance was in place, had x-rays done, had an arm put in a cast. Suddenly the same thing that cost $75 a few years earlier was now over $1,000. Because nobody really talked about it anymore, because your insurance, you go to the doctor, they have you sign some forms, you submit the forms to your insurance company then argues to the doctor, and they settle probably for anywhere between 50 and 75% of what your original bill was. So you, as the consumer, have been removed from the equation. Therefore, the folks that were running the hospitals went, And then the folks that make the machines that the hospitals need went, Well, if they can bilk all this money from the insurance companies, then we should be able to charge more for the machines that they have to use because they can afford it. This is one of the things that annoys me, and I've even heard Rush Limbaugh doing it. Everybody uses the word capitalism anymore. What happened to the word free market? Because that's what this country was founded on. It was founded on a free market system. Along with those other 10 Bill of Rights, most of which have been obliterated, destroyed, or so far buried that they don't matter anymore, it was also created on a free market system. Something like Obamacare wouldn't be needed if we had a legitimate free market system. If the consumer was in the middle of the pricing and knew what they were being charged for, most of these hospitals would either have to adjust their pricing or they would shut down. Most of these folks that were charging an arm and a leg for this medication and for these machines wouldn't be able to do that anymore, because the bottom would fall out of the market. This is why I keep screaming and yelling every time I hear all my liberal friends, oh, the Republicans just don't like it because it was his idea, because it's based off of mass care. You know what? I'm going to tell you the same thing I've been telling you this whole time. Mass care's fine. It was decided on by the people of the state. They decided to do it. If California wants CalCare, fine, they can have CalCare. Hell, if Oklahoma wants Okie Care, I don't care. I can move. If they pass something I don't agree with, I can beat feet. Where am I supposed to go now? The whole country's being shoved to hell in a handbasket, and there's nothing I can do about it. And it's evident everywhere. From these stupid commercials with the 20-something dude sitting in a fucking pair of footy pajamas, sipping on a cup of coffee, talking about how Obamacare is cool, to Michelle Obama telling everybody, hey, Christmas time's a great time to talk to your family about Obamacare. Screw you and your Obamacare. You've ruined Christmas for half the country because nobody can afford to buy anything anymore because they're all worried about their premiums going up. And let's get all your family together who are already stressed out beyond belief because they can't afford to pay for anything anymore, and then tell them how great Obamacare is. Why don't you and Mr. Obama do everybody a favor, and when you're, in the middle of this nice Hawaii trip that you're about to take, that's going to cost us God knows how much money, why don't you just not come back? At this point, I'd rather have Crazy Joey B in charge than you two idiots anymore, because I don't even know what the hell's going on anymore, and I'm done. Done. You are single-handedly, between the two of you, destroying this country, and nobody cares. You want to know how I know nobody cares? Because we're all too busy fighting over something that Phil Robertson said. He got suspended. Who cares? You don't get me wrong. I care that he got suspended because he was asked a question and he answered it. So apparently, Joe Scarborough is not a happy camper. I found, because he was mentioned in the last episode, or the last story that I pulled up, I found another one with a link to his name. MSNBC's Joe Scarborough gave a verbal flogging to White House Press Secretary Jay Carney on Morning Joe Wednesday over the dip in President Obama and Congress's approval numbers just out in a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll. Carney began the segment noting that Obama is set to kick off a series of economy-centered speeches. Oh God, more speeches. Can this man do anything but give speeches? Can we please, for the love of God, turn the campaign mode off, sir? You've won not once, but twice. You cannot be elected again, short of unless you know something I don't. You're about to pass some sort of executive order that gives you a third term. You cannot be elected again. Turn off the campaign mode. You suck. You suck. Okay, sorry, went off on a little bit of an aside there, but I'm so frustrated right now because this man got elected not once, but twice, I could almost see it in 2008. Nobody knew who he was. He said all the right things. He was young. He was a fresh face. He was hip. And he told you how open he was going to be. I can almost forgive you for that one. Almost. But what the hell happened last year? Did you start believing all of his press again? Were you just not paying attention? Did you not want to believe that somebody could actually be worse than Jimmy Carter? Because, just as a reminder, even Jimmy Carter is saying this guy sucks now, so that should tell you something. When one of the country's most inept president ever looks at you and says, dude, compared to me, you suck. Yeah, you're screwed. Sorry. Carney began the segment noting that Obama is set to kick off a series of economy-centered speeches. Oh, I already read this, sorry. Later Wednesday in Galesburg, Illinois, he said Obama is aiming to refocus Washington's attention on jobs, even while Congress, meaning congressional Republicans, of course, want to focus on other things. You brought up phony scandals, Scarborough jumped in. That's like throwing meat in the middle of dogs, so I've got to ask you, what phony scandals? Do you think the IRS scandal is a phony scandal? And this was his quote. I think what we've seen is inappropriate activity that the president said he would not tolerate, Carney replied, and that he installed somebody at the IRS to take care of it. Carney continued, saying that Republicans have cherry-picked information that turns out to be only one side of the story. Officials at the IRS are under congressional investigation for the unfair scrutiny of politically conservative groups seeking nonprofit status. I want to get to the economy, Scarborough said. We have to clean up this one thing, though. He went on about the IRS scandal, noting that former officials in the agency have testified that it reaches high levels in Washington, close to the administration. Carney gave a skeptical smirk, setting Scarborough off. I see you smiling. I don't know that there's anything to smile about. It doesn't sound phony to me, Jay. Carney attempted to respond, accusing Scarborough of parroting congressional Republicans. I want to talk about the economy, but talk to me. Don't give me talking points because it doesn't work on this show, and you've been here long enough to know it. To know it doesn't work on this show. So answer my question, and then let's talk about the economy. When you get to the question, I'll answer. Here it is. I gave you the question, and you decided to fight me, Jay, so stop your games with me. We've known each other for far too long. I'm not somebody you talk down to from your podium. Answer my question, Jay. Joe, please let me answer. There is no question that the activity at the IRS was inappropriate, and the president made clear that he wanted to take care of it, and he appointed somebody who's doing that. Obama's approval rating is at 45% among adults, according to the poll. It's his lowest rating since August of 2011. Okay, so, trying to keep my composure while I point out the idiocy of Joe Scarborough talking about don't give me talking points. Oh, it's so funny. It really is, because you've seen these journalists, and yes, I'm using air quotes right now even though you can't see them, who have been Obama mouthpieces for the last 5 years, who I guess at some point had some sort of smelling salts waved under their nose, or maybe it's because they figured out, hey, this douche nozzle can't be reelected, so why are we still defending him? You know, we did everything that we could. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's happening all over the place. I've alluded to it, so let me go ahead and read you the piece. This was Barbara Walters to Piers Morgan. We thought that Obama was going to be the next Messiah. I shouldn't say this at Christmas time, Barbara Walters told Piers Morgan on his show Tuesday. But despite her best judgment, she went on to say it, and it was quite a controversial statement. What exactly was it? We thought that he, meaning Obama, was going to be, I shouldn't say this at Christmas time, but the next Messiah, she told Morgan. The response came after Morgan asked why Obama has faced so much opposition and why he is struggling so much to really fulfill the great flame of ambition and excitement that he was elected on originally in 2009. He made so many promises, she began, and we thought that he was going to be, I shouldn't say this at Christmas time, but the next Messiah. And the whole Obamacare, or whatever you want to call it, that Affordable Health Care Act, it just hasn't worked for him. And he stumbled around on it, and people feel very disappointed because they expected more. She added, it's very difficult when the expectations for you are very high. You're almost better off when they are low. And then they rise and rise. Yeah, sorry, I got thrown off for a minute there, because again, nice little ad playing in the background. You know, all these video ad things, really, I gotta tell you, I just, grr. Even as a capitalist, grr. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I mean, come on, it's all over, it's everywhere. The Democrats are in full meltdown mode. They don't know what to do. You know, they started floating the idea of Hillary as the next president, and that's not testing out nearly as well as they'd hoped so far. Now, granted, they've got plenty of time. They may be able to resurrect her, but they've already had folks who were once supporters of hers talking about how she was way too soft in several places, and that they're not sure she's ever going to be able to get past the Benghazi situation. Then, of course, we've got some couple of Republicans who haven't said very nice things about the fact that if she was a man, it wouldn't be that big a deal, but with the age that she's about to reach as a woman, probably not much hope there. Personally, for you idiots, I wish you would have kept your mouth shut. Because all you're doing is making a bad situation worse. Bear with me for a second, folks. I'm going to play this again so I can figure out why my phone keeps blowing up.
We were made to lead the way. We could be the generation that finally breaks the chains. We were
Giving the Obama administration the big ones up, right from the middle finger. Common Ground Radio with Double R.
Hey, folks. I don't know about you, but I always feel like there just isn't enough time in the day. You know, one of those not enough hours in the day kind of things. But, you know, working full-time, raising a family, trying to start a company, I'm sure some of you can relate. So, what can we do about it, I guess is my question. Short of hijacking Doc Brown and having him show you the secrets to the DeLorean, what if I told you there was a way where we could get you more energy for the hours that you had in your day, instead of worrying about finding more time in your day? Anyway, I found the information through my independent Beachbody life coach, Miss Sherry Britt. You can find her information online at www.beachbody.com/SherryBritt1. Basically, I have to tell you, folks, I haven't been doing it for very long, but it's working. It's one of those total commitment kind of things. I'm using a program called Shakeology. Basically, it's a meal replacement. Think Slim Fast, but better. And also, I have one of Sean T's workout videos. We're doing T25 right now. Started that a couple of days ago. Have to admit, I'm old, I'm fat, and it's painful, but I feel better. And it's one of those things where I'm doing it at my own pace. There's also nutrition plans involved in a lot of these packages if you go for the whole thing. So it's what they like to call a challenge pack. I call it a bundle offer. Basically, it gets you the Shakeology video of your choice and a diet and exercise plan all rolled into one. Basically, it's just one of those things where, what have you got to lose? You might as well try it. We all complain that there's not enough time in the day. What if there just isn't enough energy for us in the day anymore? You remember when we were kids? A day felt like a week, because we were always doing something. Just my thoughts on it, folks. Give it a shot. Like I said, you can find the information at the link I just gave you a minute ago. What have you got to lose?
If you don't believe in God we trust, then strap your bomb to yourself and ride your camel out of here. You're listening to Lyric Off the Rails with Double R, right here on Common Ground Radio.
welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on.
Alright, folks, and we are back, and during that little break, I figured out what was going on. Then I also found some other things that I thought were a little interesting. Apparently, another Facebook page that I follow took the same thought that I had and kind of ran with it. And it is a true statement, because I've heard it said before. A Muslim man says that gays should hang from light posts and nobody panics. Christian man says gays won't see the kingdom of God and everyone loses their minds. Again, why is one of those statements okay? Because they happen all the time, and the other not. So this is my closing thought. I'll probably be winding this one up here in the next few minutes. Starting to try to get further and closer back to that 2-hour mark, but trying to do this in the evenings is proving a little more problematic than I'd thought because there's just way too much activity. But we'll get it sorted out little by little, and I'll get back in the swing of things soon, I hope. But that, and it is kind of late. I have to be up early, so gonna be winding up here in a few minutes. But I leave you with one of the things that I've said before, not just for this particular situation, but with all of the stuff going on with the Second Amendment and the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. You have choices. Those choices are: you can sit on the couch, you can pop open your favorite brand of potato chip and pop the top on your favorite soda pop or your favorite beer, and you can settle in for a night of reality TV or science fiction TV or some great movie or whatever else it may be, or you can find ways to start getting involved. You know, even if it's something small, like starting a Facebook page or maybe a blog. Or maybe find out how to get involved in some of the candidates in your local area that you agree with and you support. Find ways to help them. Find ways to get engaged. Because here's the problem that we have, folks. If we do not act soon, the things that we love about this country are going to be gone. I mean, when is the last time you really took a good, long, hard look at what's going on in this country? We're being spied on by our own government. We have a major online merchandiser talking about delivering things by drone. Seems kind of harmless at first. Not sure it'd stay that way for long. So again, I ask you, what is it that you're going to do? Gonna roll over, hit the snooze bar, and go back to sleep? You can do that. Nobody's looking at you right now. Nobody even knows that you're listening to me right now. You can roll over. You can go back to sleep. You can pretend this was all just a dream and that I'm some raving lunatic and that everything's going to be alright in the morning. And you know what? The scary thing is it probably will be alright in the morning. But what about the morning after that? Or the morning after that? Look at where we are now compared to where we were 11 short years ago. Look at where we are now compared to 12 short years ago. We have systematically allowed our country and our government to remove little bits of our freedom, one little piece at a time, all in the hopes of making us all feel more secure. So again, folks, are you gonna... I don't know, I was trying to think of a comparison for Phil Robertson. I'm trying to think of somebody who basically had the same opportunity to be honest and chose not to use it. But I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. So let's just say, are you gonna be a Phil Robertson and stand up for what you believe in any chance you get? Even if it means at some point somebody's not going to like you and they're maybe going to fire you, or worse. Or are you going to be the guy who keeps his head down and just lets everybody walk all over him and just prays that everything is going to come out alright? again, I leave you with that thought for today, folks, and remind you, for all of you folks that are currently dancing in the streets right now, because the patriarch of the family who does Duck Dynasty has been put on an indefinite suspension. At some point it could be you. And then I wonder how funny you think it is. Or how funny you think it's going to be. Again, folks, I am Double R. This is America Off the Rails. We will be back tomorrow night for one last regular show, and I think still going to try to do a show on Monday. Not sure about. Definitely know we won't be doing anything on Wednesday because it's Christmas. So, if I don't hear from you or don't have you guys tuning in with me tomorrow or Monday, just want to take a moment to wish you Merry Christmas. Sorry for anybody who that pisses off, but sorry. Anyway, it's been my pleasure having your ear for the last hour or so. We will be back tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night.
I don't want no one to cry, but tell them if I don't survive, I was born free. I was born free. I was born.
You are now tuned into the Bush Leagues of Talk Radio, right here on the all-new K98 Talk.